بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. So moving forward, we're now going to discuss a few more rules regarding the حروف مشبهة بالفعل.
What do you get?
So the next rule we have here is this. ويجوز الأدف على اسم إن المكسورة بالرفع والنسب باعتبار المحل واللفظ مثل إن زيدا قائم وأمر or وأمرا. So either or. What is he saying here? That if you have an atf on the ism of inna, so our example we have here, inna is harf mushabbahun bil fa'l, zaydan is ismu inna, qa'imun is khabaru inna. Now if you want to make zaydan the ma'tufun alayh, yes, and an amr becomes the ma'tuf, yes, there's two options, two ways of reading it. You can read it bi raf'i wa nasbi. You can read it بالرفع باعتبار المحل. So this is what? باعتبار المحل. Or you can read it منصوب باعتبار اللفظ. Okay? Before inna came, what slot was this? Before inna came onto the jumla, what kind of slot was it? A marfu slot. Mubtada, marfu slot. So based on this, we can say we can do atf on the mahal of Zaid. Zaid is a marfu slot, but because of inna governs this. So you can say inna Zaidan, but the slot is marfu, but inna changes it to mansub slot. So based on the original mahal, you can do atf on that and say inna Zaidan qa'imun wa amrun. Or you can do atf on the lafz. What's the lafz, Arab lafzi of Zaid? Is what? Mansub, so therefore amran can be ma'tuf on the mansub. Inna Zaidan wa amran. Inna Zaidan qa'imun wa amrun or wa amran. Both are permissible. Are you following? So in the Quran, in Surah Tawbah, we have أن الله بريء من المشركين ورسوله. So wa rasuluhu is the ma'tuf ala lafz al-jalala. It's really أن الله, this is ismu أن, and this is atf
I didn't think of that example.
al-jalal, ala lafz al-jalala. But why is it according to his tawjih? This other way, some say that you have a khabar mahzuf after it. Wa rasuluhu bari'un. So you have a khabar mahzuf after it, that's why rasuluhu bari'un. Or the other way according to Hidayatun Nahw text is what? Is atf al-mahal. Is atf on this, but atf al-mahal. Therefore Allah and His Messenger have nothing to do with the mushrikun. You understand? So this is why if you have a ma'tuf, if it comes directly, it's not mu'akhar. So if you have, for example, Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. So now because they come together, so the amal is strong, the amal of inna is strong, so it will have to read both of them as mansub. But when you have the khabar delayed, when you have the ism ma'tuf delayed after the khabar, so because the amal becomes weak, because it's far away from the amil, you have a choice. You can read it adf al mahal, or you can have it adf al lafz. Why? No, if you read it majroor.
You get one extra. So now
How would that be?
10 original, one extra for £100. Yeah. ثم ابتدع المشتري على عيب في إحدى الثياب إن كان قبل القبض فالمشتري.
Yeah. So here you have a choice. Yeah. So atf ala lafz or atf ala mahal. Obviously it's Quran, so you have to read it rasuluhu. But في غير القرآن you can read it rasul lahu. If you read rasulihi, then the whole meaning is gone. Okay? Yes? Understood? Any other questions? Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes, if there's no fasila and it comes directly together, then it will be mansoob. So inna Allah wa malaikatahu. You don't say inna Allah. You can't say, well, it's possible to read wa malaikatuhu, because it's in the same, it's qareeb. It comes before the intiha'ul amal. So therefore the amal of inna would carry on to the ma'tuf of the ism of inna. But if the khabar comes, then the ma'tuf comes. Then you have a choice. Okay? Okay. Now the next masala we have here is takhfifu inna. So instead of inna, you make it in. So wa'lam anna inna al-maksura. Know that the inna maksura. So before that he adds this one masala. You can have a lam on the khabar. You can have a lam on the khabar of inna. Now this is correct, but there's a few more rules to this. What is this? You can have a lam on the khabar. Wa innaka la'ala khuluqin azim. So here you have the ism of inna, khabar of inna, and then we have here lam. So lam wa tawkeed. When it's moved down, it's renamed lam muzahlaqa, but you can call it lam tawkeed, lam al-ibtida, lam muzahlaqa. But in the books of Arab, they call it lam muzahlaqa. But in terms of the books of Nahw, sometimes there's a bit of tasahul, a bit of like, not tasahul. Some of us get lam, so when I say we will say still lam al-ibtida. Even though it's moved down, it's still called lam al-ibtida because it was really originally lam al-ibtida. Some will call it lam al-tawkeed, a general term. And lam muzahlaqa is what they mention in the books of Arab to be technically correct in more modern meaning like developed, like last 400-500 years is modern. But earlier you might see a bit of flexibility in that. So you can have this lam tawkeed, lam muzahlaqa, or lam al-ibtida, different names for it. If the ism is mu'akhar, even then you can have a lam on the ism. So inna fi dhalika la ibra. Inna fi dhalika. So here the fi dhalika is khabar muqaddam, but the ism mu'akhar has a lam. So they can also come with the ism mu'akhar. Similarly, if you have a dhamir al-fasl, so the lam can come with the dhamir al-fasl. So inna hadha lahu al-qasas al-haq. So the lam comes on the dhamir al-fasl, not on the khabar. The khabar is inna hadha huwa lal-qasas. You don't say it like that. You say here, if it's the dhamir al-fasl, it will come on the dhamir al-fasl. So yes, it comes on the khabar, but of two more rules. It can also come on the ism mu'akhar, and it can also come on the dhamir al-fasl if there is one. So far, following?
Okay, now
Yes?
who's next?
Everybody with me? Yes? Okay. Now here, in Hidayatun Nahw, in the copy I've got, I don't have to change it in new nuskhas. He's gone this example, I'm not sure if it's in typos or scribe mistakes or he just made he got a bit confused. But here is a lot of, we call it Urdu garbar. It doesn't make sense, it doesn't add up. He says sometimes that qad tukhaffaf, okay? Sometimes you can do takhfif of inna, correct? It becomes in. But this example is not correct. So for example here, our qira'at wa inna kulla lamma layuwaffiyannahum. And throughout the book he's been using the qira'ah of Hafs. So he said wa in kulla lamma layuwaffiyannahum. So if you say wa inna, it's not a problem. That's muthaqqala. So then that's fine. If you say in kullu lamma, this is not mukhaffafa still. This in will be nafiya. So the examples here are incorrect. They just don't add up to the standard. Maybe some other lugha, but the normal qawaid of standard meaning post Ibn Hisham, Ibn Malik's root, it doesn't add up to this. So this example here is not correct in two ways. Number one is there's a much our qira'ah, and he's normally used the Hafs qira'ah. And even if it is using the other qira'ah, if you say in kullal lamma, then I'm not sure if it's in kullun or in kullan. I think it'll be in kullun if you use the in. But so this is a bit of a question mark. Okay, this example.
So basically all that sentence is saying is
That's kullan, yeah. So this is one qira'ah. The majority of us have, those who have, so Shu'bah reads in kullan, yes? But wa inna kullan, yeah. So inna kullan. So we just stick to that. So this example is not the best example. Okay. There's also another issue here. This is not in mukhaffafa, because in mukhaffafa only comes on the nawasikh, kana, dhanna, etc. Okay, we'll discuss it later on shortly. Yes? And the next example he got here is also weird. وَحِينَ إِذٍ يَجُوزُ إِلْغَاؤُهَا كَقَوْلِهِ تَعَالَى وَإِن كُلٌّ لَمَّا جَمِيعٌ لَدَيْنَا مُحْضَرُونَ. Now, in kullun, this, if you take in is going to be nafiya. And lamma is going to meaning of illa. Yes, so this is how the Jami' al-Mu'aribun, this is how they do it. The people of Arab and Nahw, this is in is nafiya here, it's not in mukhaffafa. Yes, so these examples he's got, so the rules he's got is correct. So just ignore his examples. Yes, what he's mentioned is correct. That you can have takhfif of inna. So when you have inna, you do takhfif of it, it's permissible. Yes, and if you do takhfif of inna, then usually, majority of the times, you don't have amal. It becomes what? Mulghat, ilgha'uha. You don't have amal. The word after is not mansub. But these two examples don't add up to what he was trying to say. So just make a mark and say this is something, just overlook his not very in clarity or disclarity here. I'll use these examples. When you say yajuzu, is yajibu. So the Kufiyun have said you can, but we're saying is wajib. It is wajib, meaning the in mukhaffafa only comes on those af'al which precede mubtada and khabar. The af'alun nawasik, which are what? Fa'lun naqis, kana, kada, etc. Or dhanna, af'alul qulub. So only, so you don't have, so that's why this example, previously doesn't even make sense. So so this is not, he made an error in my opinion regarding the Quranic ayat. So the in mukhaffafa only comes on kana, kada, the af'al which enter onto a mubtada and khabar. So for example here, this is fine. So use this example as a summary. So he's saying here, what do you say? So the first thing he's pointing out is takhfif. Yes? So in the previous slide, those examples weren't correct, or they weren't appropriate. The correct examples are correct, but it wouldn't suit the rule he's mentioning. So takhfif. When you do takhfif, then you must have yajibul lam. It's called al-lamul fariqa. Al-lamul fariqa. Why? So we know it's not in shartiyya or in nafiya. Yes? So, and this is what? Kana comes on. So it's really anta min al-ghafilin. So, kunta min qablihim al-ghafilin. So you have takhfif, and when you do takhfif, it becomes ilgha. There's no amal, there's no ism, there's no nothing, and then you have lamul fariqa. Yes? Are you following? So if you look at it here, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why he says here, a inception is a contract. Which is kindness and that. So such contracts do not produce any binding effect. The person who's given it to you out of ihsan.
But then the lamma becomes the meaning of illa. So the question is, if he's taken as inna, a ta'kid, so if he says, according to Qira'ah of Shu'bah, if it's in kullan, then lamma is not in the meaning of except, illa, something else. They will do another ta'wil. Our interpretation is in is nafiya, so in kullun or inna kullan. So inna kullan is not a problem. So the lamma is not thingy here.
Yes, yeah, you can do that.
That's not harfu hasr, adatu hasr in here. Yes, that's something else. Yes, when you say in kullu lamma, then that's adatul hasr, and the lamma is the meaning of illa. Yes. So don't worry about it, because that qira'ah will have to do understand that in another sense. Let's just understand the rule here based on a simple example which adds up to everything, which is this example here. So he's mentioning a few rules. The first rule is inna become mukhaffaf becomes in. Yes? When you do that, then it becomes ilgha. There's no ism of in which is mansub. There's no in muqaddara, there's no ism of in at all. And number two, it only comes on a fa'il which is a nasikh, which is kana. Yes? Kana, kada, the af'alun naqisa, which come on mubtada and khabar, or the af'alul qulub. Another example, wa inna dhunnu. So dhanna is a fa'lul qalb. So it's in is mukhaffafa min so inna became what? In. Then what do you have to bring? What do you have to bring here? Lamul fariqa ala al-khabari. And in can only come on a fa'lu nasikh. In this case, the fa'lu nasikh is what? A fa'lul qalb. Yes? Have you understood his rules based on these two examples?
The other thing is saying
Yes?
that this person is giving you £100. And you have to give him £100. So basically,
Yes.
in the end, you're changing exactly the same two things, aren't you? That he's giving you £100 and you're going to give £100 back. So if you want to stipulate, like him, like if I pay money, when you do two same things, you can't do that.
Yeah. When you have inna, the qira'ah is going to be lamma. When you have in, it's going to be lama. And then the i'rab of lamma varies depending on what you do with inna. So if you read inna, then the lamma has one tawjih. If you read in, it becomes lama, and then the lam and the mim is another tawjih of the i'rab. And I haven't looked it up, but I don't recall it at the moment. I looked it up previously. But when you have inna, it's lamma, and then you do a i'rab of that is different. And when you read in, it becomes lama without this one here. Correct. But then that won't be lamma. Paji?
Now, this is the one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me explain to you what happens.
Okay.
There's two types of riba. Riba is put in.
So you can read inna with kun, with both. Inna lamma, inna lama. In lamma and in lama. Yeah, okay. Okay. And each of them have its own tawjih in terms of its i'rab. But again, this, according to the jumhur, this one will be in mukhaffafa. According to our, the simple will in mukhaffafa wouldn't apply, because even then in mukhaffafa only, according to the majority of times, only applies on the fa'al al-qalb. They probably would have maybe allow it on this qira'ah, but we keep the simple our qira'ah. I say this example doesn't apply in our qira'ah, so we just leave it for now. And in kullun, this is also nafiya, not mukhaffafa, because it's not before a fa'il. It only comes under fa'il according to the, so we'll keep to the Hafs qira'ah and keep to the standard i'rab. Okay? Do you understand the rules of in mukhaffafa? So a summary is that when you have inna, you can make it takhfif and it comes in. When you do this, it is possible to confuse it between in shartiya, not really shartiya, but mainly in nafiya. Therefore, on the khabar, you must bring a lam. You must bring a lam. Number 2. And the jumhur of the ulama say that the in mukhaffafa only comes on if fa'lun nasikh. Kunta dhanna kada. Wa in kadu la yazlikunaka bi absarim. So kada is a fa'lun naqis as well, a nasikh. So it only comes with those verbs. Yes? Have you understood? So the 3 points. You can do takhfif of the inna, it becomes in. Thereafter, there's no amal. When you do takhfif, there's no amal, it becomes mulghat, there's no mansub ism. You have to bring a lam al-fariqa, and then you have, it only applies on, it only precedes a fa'lun nasikh. Okay?
And the item has to be the same.
Understood?
So number 1, the item which you're
Yes.
explaining has to fall under these two categories. Like for example,
When you do in mukhaffafa,
falls under K.
yes. So the translation will remain the same. It's still for emphasis.
Under mawzun.
It is still for emphasis.
Yeah? Now if the item is the same, like on one side you got
But assumingly, I'm just assuming that the emphasis was probably slightly less than inna, because inna's, the rule is ziyadatul mabna tadullu ala ziyadatul ma'na, because inna has more letters, so it would have more amal, more meaning as well. So it would be more slightly more emphatic than in. Wallahu a'lam.
within the same session. One can't be given afterwards. If
Mhm.
any one of these two conditions is not met,
And indeed, before this, you were from amongst those who were unaware. So indeed, so in and la is still emphasis, and surely before this, you were from those who were unaware.
which is prohibited in
This is how I
What
want the
does the Quran
Sira
is
to
not
be
talking
written.
about transaction.
Yeah.
It's talking about
How to write the Sira. This is how it is written.
And the person
No, this can't be nafiya, because if it's nafiya, it would have to have lamma.
he is
If it was nafiya, it would be lamma.
why falls under the
Is it
riba
Ghaib,
which is
is it
prohibited in the
Ghaibani,
Quran.
Ghaibuna, Mukhatabun, Mukhatabani,
Okay.
And the other riba which is in the hadith
You have to write the first.
Yes, any other question? We stop here today, inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.